In the video I had done before, I don't really think I did it enough justice. Also, because of the fact that I think when I first started this whole opinion thing, I started to like put music in it, so it was really hard for a lot of people to hear me. But I think I think I'd like to give my opinion. So when I first watched the first film, it was really a lot like a really comedic movie, a really joyful ride for me. Even the start, like how Cko always starts off Ako's day, like it was really an interesting movie. From the fight scenes to the interaction between Bko and Ako, like throughout the movie, it was really something. For me, like honestly, for me, it was something that drew me. Like I always felt like I don't see much of female protagonists that have this type of setup, and this basically drew me towards this franchise. And so I don't know if this franchise, but I'd call it that. But basically, it drew me towards it, and I stuck to this. I honestly loved the first film. It was really the face of it for me, and it stuck it, and it gave me a template to know what to look for in the next few movies. Now, at the time, I didn't know that this was, the first film, or I didn't know. I just watched it, and so I didn't know there were other movies, and so I watched the other movies, and I started to notice certain things. Like the second film was still hilarious, but it it had some things. I think what was the selling point for the second film was the ending, where Biko's dad, I think, and her dad's like using his like machines or whatever that he created, and he's using it to face off against Ako. I'm not sure what the plot point was. I never really. That's the thing. Like, I never understood the plot, but I loved the imagery and I went with it, and the energy that it had really stuck with me, and so that's what really kept me. But yeah, the second film was like really interesting. I think there was like a moment where he was like going crazy, and it was towards the end of the film, and I think he like cracked his back during. It was like hilarious. Like it killed me. And the I think, yeah, it was like the English dub scream for that scene was so funny that I just instantly, I was just like, yo, second film is definitely just as good. The third film was really the moment where I kind of realized. I realized that the third film was kind of, the comedy that it had was more adulterated. It was more real life focused. It felt more of a different change. You know what I mean? It was really weird for me. So as I progressed throughout the film, I started to notice these changes, and I was just like, this is weird. I don't know. It's just something about story changes is kind of interesting. You don't know where it's going, so you kind of stick with it. The introduction of the dude and all this stuff, and it's really interesting how you see the shift of Ako's character. So the teacher kind of, to me, is a hilarious person. She kind of had basically what a teacher does. And I think out of all the characters, she's more of a realistic person because of how, she feels, like her struggles. She doesn't present them. They kind of present themselves through how she feels. And we get that sense in this film, which was really something I kind of stuck to, because it was like, yo, that's kind of cool. The fact that she's now, that we see her point of view, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting. And so basically, the plot of the third movie wasn't that bad. It was just different. Now, if I put which movie first in ranking, I'd put the first film first, second film second, and third film as the last film. And the reason why the third film is the last film is because the third film was just different. It was really different for me. It kind of, I don't, it felt different. I think that is why it had the comedy, but it didn't have the chaoticness as the first film and the second film. I think the chaoticness comes from, for the third film, it comes from the last few moments, as usual, but it doesn't come from the, start, or, you know what I mean? It doesn't have that crazy introduction. But still, all the movies, I love them. This series is a movie series that I feel like has to be like renewed in some way, or has to have some form of audience. Because to me, Project Ako is just kind of just a really interesting series. I would really love if it had some type of remaster, or something, because I feel like it is just kind of a hidden gem among a series. I feel like the voice cast is really where my interest goes to, because the voice cast for each like character, for me, was like, especially Aiko's like character, like her voice actress is really good, especially the voice actress for Cko as well, like really good. You know what I mean? And they really nail how the character is portrayed and how they're displayed and just how they act throughout the film. And so yeah, that's about my opinion on this movie.